Okay, so to solve this, it actually gives you step by step, actually in justifying this here. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna make a couple of notes for you guys. Um, from from this point here, what they're doing is they're subtracting, or sorry, adding 75 to both sides. Add 75. Okay, so here you have to add 75 to both sides. Um, so when you add 75 to both sides, um, add one here. These cancel out, and these becomes 75 on this other side here. Um, and then from this step here, you're dividing by 3 on both sides. So divide by 3 on both sides. Now, this is really important. I'm kind of flying through this, and I don't have my tablet with me, so it's hard to write clearly. So again, this is some older skills from Unit 2, being able to solve for an equation, isolating the x all by itself, divide by 3 on both sides, and then here, so it says, in this question, it says, why are there two answers? How many numbers could yield 25 when squared? So here they're going to square root both sides. Okay, it's kind of hard to tell. What they did here is they square root this side and they square root this side. Now, when they did that, the square root of x squared is x. So this one made sense. On this side, when they square root 25, they have a plus and a minus. And the reason why is because you have a possibility for a positive 5, and you have another possibility for a negative 5. These are your two possible answers, and that's why there's a plus and minus right there. Okay, so you have a plus and you have a minus. Okay. The addition property of equality says that you can add or subtract the same thing from both sides of the equation. That right here is talking about moving the 75 to the other side, add 75, and add 75. Okay. Okay, so now we're on slide 5. There are 11 slides total, so just to give you guys an idea of where we're at. I may get into a third video, I'm not quite sure. Okay, how many solutions should you obtain when solving the equation x squared equals c? Okay, explain your thinking. Okay, so you have to consider all possibilities. Okay, so what that means is, what if c is positive? What if c is negative? What if c is maybe even equal to 0? Okay, so let's answer this in our notebook. Mine will just be another slide. Um, so since I can't have a notebook in this program, I'm just going to move the equation here. Okay, so I'm going to write 3 possible equations, and you're going to figure out which one what are the possibilities. If you need to, grab a graphing calculator in the back and look at the possibilities. So let's do x equals, I'm just going to pick a real simple number, 4. Okay, that's one possibility. Then I'm going to put the little squares later. X equals 0, because 0 is kind of in the middle. And then we have the other option, x equals negative 4. Okay, now what are the possibilities of having different answers here? So I'm going to add this square. So x squared, squared, and squared. Okay, so you should be able to find 3 different possible answers, okay, for all of these. These are the possible answers. There's ones with a positive c value, a 0 c value, and a negative c value. Because here's your hint. C is negative, what is positive? When it says, are there any others? Well, here's positive, here's negative, the one in the middle. I'm not going to answer this for you. Okay, square root this side. Okay, square root this side, and square root the other side as well, and hopefully that will yield an answer for you. Square root this side, square root that side, and see what your possible answers are. Okay, square root these both and square root these both. Now remember, the solution to a square root, the numbers have to multiply together to get the original one. This one is going to be quite tricky. What two numbers multiply that are exactly the same that's going to give you a negative 4? I know I can get two numbers to give me 4. I know two numbers to give me 0. Two numbers equal 4 is pretty difficult. What do you think it is? Okay. Again, write that in your notebook. If you don't know what it is, write a question. Okay, here's slide 6. Use the square root method to solve each of these equations. Okay, so I'll solve these with you guys. Well, maybe I'll solve the first one, and you can solve the second one. Okay. So here are the questions. I'll solve that first one. It says 36x squared minus 4 equals 0. So, let's see. 36 oops, that's a mess if I've ever seen one. 36x squared, I don't have my tablet, sorry guys, minus 4 equals 0. Now the first thing here that we want to do is get that x by itself. So I'm going to do that by adding 4 here and adding 4 here. Okay, that's a plus. Adding 4 to both sides. Now when I add these together, these go away, and then we're going to have 36x squared. If I type it out, it'll be clear. 36x squared equals 4. Now, when I have 36x squared equals 4 on both sides, this is a square, I have to get rid of this 36. Now, this 36 here represents a coefficient. I got to get rid of that. So in order to do that, I have to divide this one by 36. So if I divide both of them by 36 on both sides, they'll cancel out. So 36 divided by 36. I'm going to make another one of these. 36 and 36 on this side. These will cross out. These will cross out. That makes a 1. It goes away. This one doesn't make a 1. This is going to make, well, let's see. On this side, I'll have x squared x squared equals 4 divided by 36. I can reduce that, and it'll equal, I think it's going to be 1. Divide both of them by 4. 36 divided by 4 is 9. 1/9. Okay, so this is going to be 1/9. Now, when I square root this one's a bit tricky because I have a fraction. Now, this is why your fraction skills are very important. You should know two numbers to equal 1/9. So if I have a fraction times a fraction equals another fraction, which is in this case 1/9, is going to be 1/9. The top two numbers have to equal 1. So 1 times 1 equals 1. Good. And the bottom number should be the same. 3 times 3 equals 9. So these are my answers because they're exactly the same thing. So in this case, x equals plus, there's one plus option, and there's one minus option, 1/3. Now this is first one. Without this writing pad, this is pretty tricky. So you guys do the second one. Okay, this should be in your notebook, and so should the second one. Okay, so now it's asking us to graph. We're on slide 7. And the nice thing about this one is graphing the function f of x equals 2x minus, this one is in vertex form. So this one is pretty cool because I can find the vertex pretty easy. So this one is vertex form, which I like. Okay, use your graph to approximate the solution. So if you look at this equation here, it's exactly the same as this equation. They're exactly the same. The only thing that changes is setting this equal to 0. So instead of this being y, or f of x, they make it into a 0, and they kind of move it around. Okay, what you notice is they solve it for you. They added 4 here. Let's do this. Let's do it this into color. So here, they added 4 to one side. That's too small. And they added 4 to this side. And when they added 4 to both sides, these two went away. They went away, and 4 is only on this side. Now that what you notice is the 2 jumped from this side and then jumped to that side. So what they actually did was they divided this side and this side. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. They divided both of them by 2. So they divided this side by 2. So it's a little smaller. And they divided the other side by 2. 4 divided by 2 over here is 2. Now, this squared went away. So what they did is they square root both sides, and they square root this side. Okay, so let's draw that out. So here's our square root on this side, and square root on this side. This square went away, so I only have x minus 3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add them both to both sides. Plus 3 out here. So let's do this. Plus 3 on one side. So these two cancel. Additive inverse property. I'm going to add it here. Since these are two different types, they stay separated. So 3 plus 2 and 3 minus 2. So those are my two answers. Okay. Now I can approximate them on the graph. Okay. So let's graph them and see what they look like. Okay. So let's draw a graph. Let's do this. Let's do a new page. Let's add a graph. Okay, so based on the last equation, our vertex should be 3 and negative 4. So our vertex should be 3, comma, negative 4. This should be our vertex. So I'm going to put a dot at that location. 3, negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to make a parabola, just an estimation. It's not perfect. It was 2, so it's kind of like a little skinnier than regular. So that is an estimation. I don't really know. I know I should have two solutions, and I do have two solutions. 3 plus square root 2 and 3 minus square root 2. That's what these two solutions represent. Those are my two answers right here. So these are my two answers. There's one there, and there's one there. One is the minus. This is the minus one because from the center it's minus this way, and here's one plus this way. Remember our answers, let's write them out. Okay, so this is important. What you'll notice is right here I have this 3 here and this 3 here. That represents my axis of symmetry. See how they're both in red and they're both highlighted? Okay, now the distance from here to there is my minus 2. My distance in the other direction represents the plus 2 because this is the positive side. So that's where we get the plus and minus in our square roots. Okay, so we're going to move on to the last few slides in the last video. Dude, it's like I'm giving you permission to watch YouTube, but at least it's like the good stuff. Don't forget to subscribe. Ask your friends to add me too if you like my video. There should be a subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. Just hit it and, watch videos with me all day long.